All right, welcome to the Thrive and Shine podcast. This is episode number 7 with my guest, Zach Dishman. So I know last time I had talking to you, you were very, very deep into Christianity. You were
Yeah.
you were a pastor, weren't you?
Yep. Pastored for 1 year.
Yep.
1 year and
And
out.
yeah, and then last time I texted you, we were talking. You said that you haven't been a believer past 3 years. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
3.5 years.
So what was there like a specific event that happened that like it was like this one thing that happened, or it's like a lot of small things?
hmm
How did that go down? Because I'm really interested to see what happened.
Yeah. I'll give a little bit of background. So, um, I have a similar story to a lot of people who grew up in this area. I feel like in South Central Kentucky, but grew up in church like my whole life.
The Bible Belt.
Um,
Yeah.
Bible Belt, baby. And then when I was 7, was baptized. And then since then was just on fire until like 15, and that's when I like really got into like ministry and
hmm
preaching and like leading Bible studies and all that stuff. Like um, in high school is when I started leading like FCA groups and Bible studies in my house, and then even preaching on occasional Sunday mornings, like all that stuff in high school. Just like
hmm
very devout in high school. And then once I graduated and went to Lindsay, where I met you, um, just got even more involved with campus ministry and all that stuff. And then got my first pastoring job when I was 20 years old, right in the middle of COVID,
hmm
um, also in a very small town in South Central Kentucky. But that's just, yeah, and then pastored for a year and then left. So
hmm
to get to your question, uh, a lot of people when I tell my story think it's like it was one situation or one interaction or just human interaction in general
hmm
dealing with like church people, because a lot of people have church hurt. And when I look back at it, like it wasn't the people that kind of pushed me out like a lot of people think. When I left the church in June of 2021, my whole goal was to just like get back to the basics of
hmm
Christianity, get back to relationship, right? Um, and just the more I tried to do that, just the more the doubts started to creep in, right? So like burnout, doubts, trying to get back to the basics, could not do it. And then eventually I just kind of like looked up and I'm just like, there's nothing here anymore. Like I have no reason to keep believing. So like it wasn't one thing in particular. It was just like
hmm
a long process. Yeah, that I think was based on emotions and feelings, which a lot of Christians, from my point of view, like from my experience, um, in their heads, they're like, well, of course, you didn't feel God, so then you left, and then that's on you because
hmm
you're not feeling God all the time, and I don't really have a response because like, yep, that's
Yeah,
how
because
I
they're gonna
saw it
say,
when I
well,
was
you
like
don't
in
have
church,
faith. Yeah,
Right,
because they're
right.
gonna say you don't have
Faith,
faith.
not feelings. Faith,
hmm
not feelings. Yeah.
Yeah, because I did like very similar when we both grew up in, Southern Kentucky. Well, I'm Northern Kentucky, but
Mm-hmm.
same background. You're raised up in church, and that's your whole basically life, and almost
Yep.
like your family's identity is like you go
Yeah.
to church and you mingle with other families, and then you
Yep.
hang out on weekends, whatever it is, and
It's so ingrained in the culture where we
it's
live.
very
You
like
know.
culture centric, and
Yeah.
then I chose to be baptized myself when I
Mm-hmm.
was 8. Like I made my personal decision, like I want to be baptized, and then
Yeah.
um, I was kind of like in and out of church, not by not wanting to be there, just I guess bad habits of not being there, but I still
Mm-hmm.
believed. And
Mm-hmm.
then went to like a church by my high school and like got into youth groups and um, started enjoying it there. And then I got to Lindsey Wilson, and I was like,
Yep.
I'm gonna like, I want because the church is there, so like I'm gonna make it a habit. I'm gonna be there Sundays and like go
Mm-hmm.
to services, and then I started playing for the the musical group. I was playing piano, and
Mm-hmm.
then someone asked me if I could play drums, and I was like, sure. When I had no idea how to
Yeah.
play drums, I was like, yeah, I can play
Yeah.
drums.
Sure.
I had no
Yeah.
idea how to play drums, but I played a couple times. Um, and then like more recently, like I still believe in God, but I've definitely had way more questions. There's
Yeah.
the amount of
Yeah.
because before it was definitely like faith based. Like I believe this. This is like no questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like what questions could I have? It's I believe it.
Right.
He's God. Like I ask questions, I get answers back.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's in emotions or whatever it is. And now I'm like, there's a lot of things that they don't make sense.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
the like one of the main things that I think about the most is divine hiddenness, which I think the correct
Yeah.
definition is like um, how people in India that are Buddhist, like why do they not get
Mm-hmm.
to experience my God?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
that doesn't seem fair that like why do I get to have this relationship and they don't? Like why is
Right.
my God more plausible than theirs is?
Yeah.
Sure, like
It's like
you
if.
could say like the Bible has 10x more hyperlinks than any other biblical text
Mm-hmm.
to ever exist, but maybe they just haven't been found yet, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
there's just not as much people trying to prove other um, like theologies correct. Or
Mm-hmm.
so that's like a main thing I think about is the divine hiddenness.
Yeah, I totally get that. And just the fact of questioning, I feel like, is very discouraged in the church a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the times. Um, yeah, like going back to divine hiddenness, like if God is all good, all knowing, and all loving, then why would He not reveal Himself? I mean, that argument right there, like if God is all knowing, all loving, all powerful, that can be applied to any problem, such as like I think about evolution a lot and the problem of
Mm-hmm.
suffering and divine hiddenness. Like if God is all these things, then why is this? And it's different when you grow up in it. You just can't see it from the outside a lot of the times.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I totally get that, man. I mean,
Yeah, there's.
from one thing to mention real quick, like
Mm-hmm.
the start of my decline was a lot of feelings based and emotions and questioning. And then now, like 3.5 years later, it's like supported with more philosophical, logical
Mm-hmm.
reasons.
Yeah, definitely
So
beginning to get more into philosophy, and I think there's so many things that are well explained, but there's so many things that also aren't explained well enough that like
yeah,
there's a I think it's Stephen Hawking has said there's no explanation, so it must be God.
hmm
So like if science can't explain it, then it must be God, which is not the best argument, but it's
right,
an argument. It's the same.
yeah, like
The I know Alex O'Connor talks about this, but
yeah,
about literature, how he had if you had a
uh-huh.
book on the table. Have you heard this analogy? So
I'm not
say
sure.
we had a book on a table from whoever it's from, and you don't know the author, but you're trying to understand the book. So you're reading through the book and you understand more about it. So you see, okay, there's a sentence structure. You see like, okay, you find the law of capitalization, how each sentence begins with a capital letter, and then the end of the sentence is followed by a period, and then there's another capital letter. So you understand that
hmm
law, and then you understand um, the sentence structure goes like da 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 da. So then you're like, okay, there's a law of iambic pentameter. So you're discovering all these
hmm
laws, but the more you can like contextualize and understand and like, get these laws to have like a foundation, have a true understanding of the book. No matter how much you understand of the book, you're never gonna understand how the book was created or why it was created.
um,
So no matter how many laws and how much information you could possibly understand about this book, you'll never understand its creation. You'll never understand
hmm
its creator or its purpose. So that's
right,
it's a cool analogy I like because it's the same way we apply it to like the analogy is for the world. How no matter how many laws we understand about the world, about gravity and like that we're
hmm
living on a knife edge, all like no matter how much we
yeah,
understand about the world, it's never going to give a definition or we're never going to find a purpose or reasoning why the world was created.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. When people try and talk with me about that, like, well, how do you explain that there's something instead of nothing? It's like Yeah. I guess like from my perspective, I mean, there was a point where we didn't know that the Earth orbited the sun. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
there was a point where we didn't know things, and then now we know things. And in my head, I'm just like, okay, we can't explain it now, but who's to say we won't explain it,
Mm-hmm.
in the future? Which I get is a proposition of faith. Like I remember in Lindsay Wilson, our Christian beliefs class, like one of the main points was like everyone has faith in something. Like I totally get
Mm-hmm.
that. Uh, but yeah, it's just different than what Christians believe.
Yeah, and if you're finding evidence, so say like I'm comparing religions. If you're saying like Buddhism has like all these evidence to point to it, and then Christianity
Mm-hmm.
has more evidence, well then are you basing religion off of evidence? Because then evidence isn't
Mm-hmm.
faith based. So you kind of get
Yeah.
into a loop. If you're trying to find evidence
Yeah.
for your religion existing, then like if you need evidence to support your belief, then it's
Mm-hmm.
evidence based believing, not faith based believing,
Yeah. Dang.
which is
Yeah.
another
When people
paradox.
like yeah, when people bring up like, well, how do you explain the evidence I've seen in my own life, like personal experiences? And you were talking about like other religions and stuff. Like that's something I
Hmm.
always come back to is like people in other religions proclaim the same like level of miracles and unexplainable things, and like
Hmm.
there are events in history that have more eyewitness testimonies than like the resurrection of Jesus, and they're like equally or more, absurd or inexplicable. And I'm like,
Hmm.
what do I do with that? from from my perspective, it just seems like when you take a step back and just look at religion as a whole, it just seems more man-made than
Hmm.
something else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you like, that's a good way. Um, mm, that's a good
Y-
point.
Yeah, because
Like,
here's some.
yeah, you go,
Sorry, go
you
ahead.
go.
Okay. Just like going back to the aspect of like feelings in the church, man, I remember growing up being in revivals, and like if I didn't leave the revival service crying, I didn't experience God. Like
Hmm.
if I cried, okay, that was a good
It was a good
religious
service.
spiritual experience. Yep. And then, dude, there was this whole movement in like the atheism world that said something like, I stopped believing in God when I went to a concert, like my first live concert, or heard my first key change and felt the same I did in church.
Hmm.
Something along those lines. It's like, wait a second, maybe it's just the music is very powerful and emotional. Maybe it's
Hmm.
something
Yeah, there's
else.
a lot that goes into it, like how well a pastor conducts himself, how well he
Yeah.
explains the message, how
Yeah.
good the music is. Does the music move you in the same way? If
Yeah.
Because say like the words didn't matter and it was a different language you didn't understand,
Mhm.
it would
Mhm.
probably have the same impact because it's the
Yeah.
context, it's the emotions, it's how they're saying the words and singing the words that I think have just equal impact. Um,
Mhm.
and you could even tell someone, so say they go to a church service and they're listening to the gospel music and it's in a different language, and you tell
Mhm.
them they're singing about praising the Lord and how much they love Him, but then in reality they're singing about like money and
Yeah.
whatever else it is, like money and drugs. But you'd have no
Yeah.
idea, and to you it's like,
No
oh,
idea.
like they're singing about
Yeah.
the Lord and they're singing about like praising Him, and it's so powerful and
Yeah.
meaningful. So like, you're like misinterpreting the actual message, and I think because music is very powerful, as we know, just for anything
Mhm.
about anything, music is very,
Mhm.
very powerful. So,
Yeah. There's something to be said about spiritual experiences.
hmm.
I gotta shout out this one author I came across online. All of her stuff's under no nonsense spirituality, but her name is Brittany Hartley, and she was like grew up Mormon and left, or was like kicked out at like 14 or 15, and ended up going to like seminary school, like theology school, to try and prove to herself that God existed, and ended up losing her faith in theology school.
Hmm.
Um, and one of the man, there's so much to be said about deconstructing.
Mm-hmm.
um, but I think one of the biggest lies of atheism is freedom. Like if I just throw off my religion, I'll feel better and feel freer when it's really not the case. Especially if you've grown up similar to we have, like the way we grew up, and it's our whole foundation of reality. And to throw that off is it's tough from experience.
Yeah.
It's very tough. It's taken me 3.5 years, and I'm finally starting to reconstruct. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I feel like there's certain levels of atheism, and the first one's like just mad at the church, want to burn it all down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you feel like you're hoodwinked, um, and then
Like,
eventually
I
you
wasted
kind of
all this
get to a
time,
point.
and yeah.
Yeah, like all these people I loved and trusted, like just fed me lies my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people stay there their whole lives and just be mad atheists. But eventually you have to get to a point where you say, wait, maybe this isn't all bad. Maybe there's something to be said about gathering in a community and singing together in this beautifully ritualistic way, and
Mm-hmm.
sharing wisdom and traditions and meaning and purpose. Like, eventually you have to get to a point where you rediscover those things. And then, at least for me, it kind of clicked like, wait, all these religions that are in the world, maybe like there's benefits to each and every one of them because your religion does a great job of offering everything that
Mm-hmm.
humans need. Things that I just talked about, like community and ritual and wisdom and meaning and purpose. Like religion do so good at offering those things. That's why they're so prevalent in our world.
Mm-hmm.
And at least for me, I've just gotten to a point where I'm like, okay, how can I get the most benefit of religion without having to believe in the unbelievable? And
Yeah.
for me, that's been the turning point of my like. I mean, I was really nihilistic, as a lot of people are when they leave the faith, because they're like, "What matter? What's if God isn't
What's the
real?
point anymore?
What's the point anymore?"
Yeah.
And it's a hard place to be, but I have to believe that if you can face that and find your own meaning and joy and purpose and come out the other side, that's almost more meaningful than just being handed a
Mm-hmm.
religion and having to believe what it says.
What was the hardest thing about leaving Christianity?
The relationships, man. The relationships. Because I grew up in the church, went to a Christian college. Every friend of mine was a Christian, basically. Every friend.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough to say that our relationships aren't as good anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's tough. That's really tough.
Vicky, my fiance, doesn't believe, which doesn't bother me, because I feel
Yeah.
like if someone's going to come to faith, it needs to be on their own terms.
Mm-hmm.
I would like if any of my friends didn't believe and I did, or vice versa,
Mm-hmm.
or if I didn't believe, I would never want anyone to push it onto me. I feel like I
Mm-hmm.
should come naturally to me, come like in my
Yeah.
own time, in my own terms, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So if she never believes, doesn't bother me one bit. If
Mm-hmm.
she does, I'm never gonna force her. I'm never gonna ask her to come to church with me.
Mm-hmm.
The offer's always there, but it should be on her terms whenever she wants to do
Mm-hmm.
it. Um, and I think people are just people. Like whatever they
Yeah.
believe, people are people.
Yeah. Yeah. Two things I'll say about that. The first is, um, when you, at least from my perspective and growing up in the church, and like I said, everyone I knew was Christian. There's two ways to react when I tell you I'm not a Christian. One
Mm-hmm.
is loving and supportive, and hey man, I get it. It's tough. If you need anything, I'm here. Like I get
Mm-hmm.
it. And the other is, how dare you? How could you not? You're throwing your
Mm-hmm.
life away. You're basically, yeah, you're throwing your life away. And from experience, one keeps the relationship and the other divides the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I was gonna say something
Because
else.
at the core of it, you're the same person. Whether
Yeah,
like
man.
before religion, after religion, you should, based on like personality, whatever it is, you should be the
Yeah.
identical person. There's just one less thing that's different about you.
Mm-hmm.
Like believing versus not believing. Because if I change to not believe, I think I'd still be the identical person I am today. I don't
Yeah.
think any different part of me would be different because I think there's still great things to take away from Christianity, like how you
Hmm.
approach like morals and having
Yeah.
good sense of community and caring for people and doing to others as you would want done unto yourself. It's all amazing principles, and
Yeah.
that should be applied to anybody. Is just be a good person. But like I talked about with Nice, like people I think are just innately good, whether
Yeah.
religion didn't exist. I think you just have a sense of community that you want to bring people up.
Yeah. A lot of people think when you leave the church or leave the faith, like you're just gonna start partying and going wild, and hey, man, just living it up, living,
Hmm.
the good life, and
No
that's just
consequences
not
now.
the right, right, and that's just like not the case. Like, sure, there is a something to be said about like rediscovering your morals and like questioning what you truly believe and stand for, but a lot of like I'm still the same person. Like I still believe
Hmm.
that murder is wrong. Like I still believe all those things that I did in the faith. And one other thing when we were talking about just like you said, it was like it's okay if you're friends with a non-believer or your fiance doesn't believe. Like just something that comes to mind when people try and argue with me or try and force me back into the faith. It's like if God is as powerful and all-knowing as you say He is, am I not in His hands more than your hands? Like why
Hmm.
do you feel like it's on you to try and save me? Like, if God is as powerful as you say He is, am I not more safe in His hands? So, like, if that's true, then
Yeah.
like, don't have any reason to worry.
If you're gonna come back to faith, you'll come back to faith. If
Yeah,
you don't, then you don't.
yeah.
Yeah. And this is a little bit off topic, but regarding faith, do you think that most people that believe in God believe in free will? Because I think, in the Bible it shows that like we're created freely, that we can, be
Mm-hmm.
free. But it also, I think it contradicts itself by saying like how he knows the mistakes you're going to make.
Mm-hmm.
If he knows all the mistakes we're going to make, that means all of our decisions are already determined. If he already
Yeah,
knows them all in the future, then the
yeah.
future is already determined, which would mean that we don't have free will.
Yeah, like, why would God create someone knowing that they're going to never believe and go to hell? Like, that's one of
Hmm.
the questions that I wrestled with. But I don't know, man. Like, a lot of people I know believe that God is all knowing, but there's still a level of free will. I think it's like a both and rather than a either or.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What have you learned about yourself since you left Christianity?
Gosh. Um, Dude, I think I've learned to just like love and accept myself more. I think, man, I just remember dealing so much with shame and trying to be good enough in faith, which I know that's not what the Bible teaches. Like Jesus
Hmm.
loves you for who you are. Like it's not about works; it's about grace. Like I get that, but I still struggle with that because at some degree, like you have to. I mean, the Bible talks about doing things for the Lord. So at some point, like shame is just gonna get in there because you're not feeling like you're good enough. Um, and now, man, just like the pressure that is off my shoulders with not having to be good enough and just like loving me myself for who I am is just very freeing.
Hmm. What would it take for you to believe in Christianity again?
I mean, it's got to be an experience of sorts, an experience
Hmm.
that couldn't be explained in any other way.
Hmm.
Um, because I think a lot of the times people, claim that it's divine, and the skeptic in me, which I mean, skepticism. There's 4,000 religions in the world. Skepticism is our best bet when it comes to trying figuring out, the
Hmm.
divine. But the skeptic in me is like, maybe that was just an emotional experience. Maybe that was something
Hmm.
else.
Yeah. I feel like
Yeah.
some atheists would say like, oh, I need to see Jesus himself.
Yeah.
But I feel like in today's world, if some guy came up to me, he's like, I'm Jesus, I'd be like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
the mental hospital's over there, buddy. If
Yeah.
there's like, if there's some guys like, I'm Jesus, I've made a return, I'd be
Yeah.
like, nice try, buddy.
Yeah.
Go to the next door.
Yeah.
Try there.
Yeah.
Because
Because
I,
like if there was an argument that could be made that would convince every atheist, it would have already been, from like a philosophical standpoint, like it would have already been made. And
mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Like there's not one word in an ancient book that we're gonna find and say, aha, like here's the argument that is gonna
This is
make
the
us all
one.
believe. Yeah, this is the one. Like it's just not. Yeah, it's got to be some type of experience.
Yeah, I feel like, just like I was mentioning earlier with Stephen Hawking, I feel like the only way is like getting so deep into science and understanding how amazing the creation is, like how specific our universe is, and how like unexplainable some things are that like it must be
Mhm.
God.
Mhm.
And but the same way I was listening to more Alex O'Connor and a guest he had on, and he's saying we think that our world's on a knife edge because we couldn't see it any other way. So say
Mhm.
there's a different ratio of things of like nitrogen, oxygen, carbon, whatever it is, different ratio.
Mhm.
There would be some things that might still survive, and maybe we don't.
Mhm.
So to them, whatever it is, if, say they're still conscious, whatever it is, they're gonna say, "Wow, like how amazing is it that we are living in like this world? Like the conditions are perfect for us.
Mhm.
Like the conditions are so perfect that we're surviving and we're alive, we're thriving. Like there's no way that the conditions could be any more perfect for us to survive."
Yeah.
So it's the same way. Like maybe if our conditions were more optimal, we would have even more life forms. And to them, they would say the same thing. Like if we change them by 1% and we had one new life form, whatever it is, to them, like it's the equally same plausible argument. Like these
Mhm.
conditions are perfect. Had the conditions been 1% different, I
Mm,
wouldn't
yeah.
exist. Like how incredible is it that we're living on a knife edge like this?
Yeah.
So that's I just
Yeah.
heard this like 2 days ago and I was like, wow, that's I never even thought to think about it that way.
Yeah.
That had conditions been different, like we would be dead. But maybe
Yeah.
if there were increase in different ratio, then we'd be fine, and other things would be dead. So um,
Yeah.
the
You just need to
knife
have
edge.
Alex. You just need to have Alex O'Connor on here, in
Oh
your
my
next
gosh, I
episode,
know.
because he could answer all the questions that we can't.
It'd be a long episode.
Yeah.
I have so many questions. Yeah. Um, did your purpose? Not that everyone ever finds a purpose in life, but did your purpose or direction in life vastly change from being in Christianity to being like after leaving Christianity?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Like when I was a Christian, I mean, my main purpose was to share the gospel and to live a life, pleasing to Him, that brought glory to Him, to glorify God in everything I did. That was the purpose. That was the
Hmm.
like the lens that I saw reality through. Um, and then now, like having to rediscover that. Like I said, it's been 3.5 years, and I'm just now starting to like rediscover what meaning is and purpose is. Like
Hmm.
coming out of nihilism, it's so easy to say that if this is all there is, then nothing matters. Um, but going back to Brittany Hartley and people like Albert Camus, I think I'm saying his name right, The Myth of Sisyphus. I don't know if you've read that book or know
Mm.
what it talks
I
about,
probably will
but
now.
yeah, dude, he founded this philosophical idea like absurdism. Yeah, so it's kind of like existentialism where you create your own meaning, but it kind of goes one step further. Um, and the way he talks about Sisyphus is like the Greek god who had to push the rock up the hill for eternity. And he ends the book by saying something like, "One must imagine Sisyphus happy." And his whole idea was like, if you can find your purpose, basically, then that's all that matters. And an analogy that Brittany Hartley used in her book was like, why do you watch a movie? Like, you know it'll end, so why do you watch it? You watch it for the experience, right? We play games for the experience. And
Mm-hmm.
so learning, like, wait, this life is just an experience, and I can enjoy it and find meaning in it based on just the experience itself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's not an overarching meaning or an ultimate meaning, but there's things in my life where I look at and I'm like, this is deeply meaningful. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's kind of just like what it looks like rediscovering my purpose and meaning and joy. And it took a lot to get out of that. But there's, like I said, there's something special about facing nihilism and meaninglessness and coming out on the other side. That's pretty special.
Yeah. Nihilism is definitely I said, rabbit hole. And
Yeah.
even though I've argued with many guests about free will, whether we have it, whether we don't, um, and I usually argue that we don't have free will, even though I'd say I'm agnostic about free will, whether we
Mm.
have it or don't.
Yeah.
I think whether I had free will or don't have free will, I don't really think it changes anything for me.
Yeah.
I'm still here for the experience. Like
Yeah.
I find meaning in everything in my life, whether it's being determined for me or not. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
having a great experience, so I'm along for the ride.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, growing a family and having relationships and community and finding hobbies to enjoy. Like it's all
Yeah.
just you're along for the ride,
Yeah.
and I really don't think that I don't think that proving free will correct or not correct. I think it's pointless, even though I do it all the time. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's pointless because whether we do or don't, what nothing changed.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
sun's gonna come up tomorrow. You're gonna behave the same way,
Yeah.
whether you think you chose a banana for breakfast or you didn't.
Yeah.
You know, who cares? Like
Yeah.
life's gonna go on.
Yeah. Totally. Like, if you don't believe in free will, like when you get out of the bed in the morning, like what, like what does that even look like? Like you just sit there all day,
Yeah.
like not moving because, like, I just don't know. Yeah, I totally agree.
A little bit more of a dark question, but
Yeah.
has your view on morality um, changed from leaving faith?
Yes and no. I think I used to think that there was like a vertical morality, right? Where like my morality was based on what God said and that God was always watching and I had to please God. Like it was very vertical, right? And now it's very horizontal. And this is where I think a lot can be said about religion and the harmful effects of vertical morality. And I use the example like if you have a kindergarten classroom and they're told to be good because the camera's always watching, and then one day they figure out that the camera's not working, like how are they going to react, or act? And then, on the other side, if you just teach kids to be good because you want to be treated good and that it's the right thing to do, it's horizontal. It's not based on something else. I just can't
Mm-hmm.
see how that won't produce a better sense of morality.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make
It's almost
sense?
like the marshmallow test.
Yeah,
Are you familiar with that?
I think so. Yeah. We're
It's when
like,
you have a kid in a room and you give him marshmallow. And you say, if you
mm-hmm,
wait until I come back in the room, I'll give you two more marshmallows, or I'll double your marshmallows, whatever it is.
mm-hmm.
So some kids say eat it. Some kids they wait. They'll look away from it like it's not there.
Yeah,
Um, so that's like if you're being watched, it changes your behavior.
yeah, yeah,
Um, Same principle. Like the analogy is, if God's watching you, are you behaving differently because Big Brother's watching you,
mm-hmm,
or because you're just innately wanting to be good?
mm-hmm,
Yeah, and
yeah,
I think that is I think a lot of Christians, not to generalize, they're good and they make good actions because God's watching them. Like,
mm-hmm,
oh, like I'm gonna help this lady carry groceries to her car because like this is gonna be some good points up
mm-hmm,
up the big guy. Like he's gonna
yeah,
like this. Um, and it's almost like a score sheet. Like, oh, I need to do a couple more good behaviors to,
Mm-hmm.
make things right with the big guy. Like, I went out and had some drinks last night. Now, like, he saw me do that. I need to make up for my mistakes or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they do acts of good because they know someone's watching, rather than just doing them because
Mm.
it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And you could get into the argument of like, what's the right thing to do? How do you know what the right thing is? So like,
Yeah.
but um, I think I don't know. It's so tricky because there's a lot of people that don't believe in faith and they do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's people then that believe in faith and do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's the same analogy, which is another good analogy. Is I think when you pay for someone's food behind you in a fast food restaurant
Mm-hmm.
and you go and tell someone you did that, I think it defeats the entire purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if I pay for someone behind me, and then I was like, I went to my fiance or my family, and I was like, guys, pay for someone's lunch behind me today.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm doing it to get
Mm-hmm.
validation, getting to get like,
Yeah.
approval points, and to get validation. Like, oh, that was a good thing. You should, that was great. You did
Yeah.
that. Rather
We
than just
try
like
to.
doing it and not expecting anything in return,
Right.
no praise or anything like that.
Yeah. You try to be humble about it too. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, there's one of my favorite lyrics in a song is by John Bailey, and he says something. For me to fake, for me to fake humble's a corny way to be arrogant.
Mm.
Bar. Do you think religion benefits or harms society?
I think it does more good than harm. Um, the harm is if it's not true and you're giving people false sense of hope that there is a God and they're wasting this time being in church when they could put more time into something else that's more beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's, helping with the homeless or it's working at a homeless shelter. Like, not that it has to be
Mm-hmm.
homeless, but like benefiting society in a way that's not putting time into church.
Yeah.
So I think there's, if you count how many hours people are worshiping God and going to church and all of this time, if that time was all allocated to something else, multiplied by X amount of people that are believing, that's a lot of good that could be put
Mm-hmm.
into the world. Um, but on the good side, on the other hand, like you're having a great sense of community, you're making connections with people, and you're ideally like trying to bring them up with you and um, do good actions that are
Mm-hmm.
selfless, and so there's no wrong intent behind church. It has the full intention of being good in the vast majority, and there's some bad pastors
Mm-hmm.
that are embezzling money and which
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
But at the core of it, church is implied or intended to be good. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but there's time that can be allocated elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something. I think I would agree. I think there's something that could be very dangerous with saying like, I have the truth and I have to do whatever it takes to share that truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like that can just be very dangerous.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the show Good Mythical Morning, um,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
one of the guests, the hosts, Rhett McLaughlin, he
Oh,
was
shout out
speaking.
Rhett, man. He's
Oh
I
yeah,
I align with him so much. But go ahead.
yeah. He was talking to, I think he was talking to Alex O'Connor as well. I don't know why I'm only mentioning Alex O'Connor today, but
Yeah.
Rhett was talking, and he was saying how he was so deep into Christianity, and he was almost, kind of laughing at other people that believe in other things. He's saying, like, they got it all wrong. Like, I feel so bad for them that they're believing in
Mm-hmm.
the wrong faith and they're putting all this time into the wrong God. Like, I feel
Mm-hmm.
so bad for them. And like now he's had the freaking recollection that, you know, they could be, he could be equally as wrong as they are right.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way to say like, oh, this is the correct God, this is the wrong one, that's the right one, mine's the wrong one,
Mm-hmm.
because all of the religions are faith based. There's not
Yeah.
Sure, there's evidence in the text that leads to
Yeah.
like a potential objective truth, but there's not like this is, we have a photograph of, our president and
Mm.
God shaking hands. Like, there's not,
Yeah.
we don't have like physical evidence like this is an exact truth that happened. And all of religions are faith based. So
Yeah.
there's no way you could say like this is 100% I can promise you the correct religion to believe in when
Hmm.
every other religion is saying the exact same thing.
Right. Right. And they have
Like,
experiences that are
mm-hmm,
equally as valid, and their stories and texts are no crazier. Like they're just different. And
mm-hmm,
yeah, like when I think about harmful religion, like the way I think about it is like there's super um there's like a balance between or a spectrum of order and chaos. And hardcore religion gets into fundamentalism and dogma and harmful, and this is the truth. This you have to believe this truth. Like it can be very harmful, that fundamentalism side of religion. It's I remember being in college and thinking, man, how lucky am I to believe the correct thing about everything? Like
mm-hmm.
I've got the perfect
Yeah.
theology. It just makes so much sense in my head. How could no one else, think this way?
How could you not
Um,
believe in my God? Yeah.
right. How could you not believe in Calvinism or whatever? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that can be super dangerous. And then the flip side is chaos, and that goes into nihilism and meaninglessness and all the danger there. Like there's dangers on both sides of the spectrum. The fundamentalism and nihilism. Like that, you have to find the balance, and that's where deconstructing and reconstructing. Like deconstructing is bringing chaos to the order, right? But reconstructing is kind of the flip side, bringing order to that chaos, and you need them both.
Yeah. How would you describe the process of deconstructing versus reconstructing? Like, what does that look like to you?
Hmm. A lot of confusion and pain and emotions
Mm-hmm. On
and
both
time
sides
and
of.
patience and just asking what the heck do I do? What do I follow and believe? Yeah, it's when you're in it, it's tough. It's tough. But it's one of those things like when you're on the other side of it, you can look back and see like how beneficial it was. With any
Mm-hmm.
type of even with suffering, types of suffering, like you don't see it when you're in it, but when you're outside of it on the other side, you can look back and like kind of see where you traveled and how you got there, and like it becomes even more meaningful. So like anyone who's out there just like deconstructing right now, like lean into it, like follow the questions you have, um, and because something so special and true could come out of it, and you could end up being someone. I mean, for me, a big thing was authenticity. I want to be the most authentic person to me that I can be, um,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have shame in that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not that I've deconstructed or reconstructed, but I think maybe the best phrase to describe it is, and now what?
yeah, yeah,
As you're always having these questions of like, okay, and now what? And then, you have questions that either lead to an answer or you lead to more questions and then more
yeah.
questions. And it goes both ways to like deconstructing to reconstructing of understanding, okay, now what? And then you have these
Hmm.
questions and then you try to find them and you have two questions that lead to four, that lead to eight, that lead to
Right.
16, and just like, you never get a direct answer either way.
Yeah, and you have to be content with the questions. Like, you have to
And
be content
not
and
getting an
find.
answer.
Yeah, like there's a book I read called Letters to a Young Poet, where this young poet was writing this his like mentor and asking all these questions, and the mentor basically said something like, "Stop asking the questions now, because even if you had the answers, you wouldn't be able to live the answers yet. Like you have to find joy and beauty in the unknown."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the best way. Is sometimes ignorance is bliss.
Dude, that's something else I struggle with so much. Is like, is ignorance truly bliss? Like, what would I rather have, happiness or truth? Um, and for the longest time, I didn't know. I couldn't answer that question. I thought I would rather have truth than happiness, but now I think I
I,
would say the opposite. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like personally, if I'm happy being ignorant, and if the truth would scare me or the truth would make me unhappy, then I'd rather be ignorant.
Yeah. Yeah. It hit me one day. I was like, wait, I don't look into, like, I don't read about politics or listen to the news, and I'm really happy about that. So maybe ignorance is bliss. Yeah. What do you think about the aspect of like choosing your beliefs? This kind of gets into like the free will determinism debates, but like, do you think you choose what you believe, or do you think it's just a product
I
of who
think
you are?
I think the best way to go about it if you are going to believe in something is to choose. But most people don't do that. Most people, it's kind of like the same thing with the divine hiddenness is if I'm wanting to be a believer in something, say like, I'm an atheist about all religions, and I'm like, okay, like I want to believe in something. What I'm going to do is ask the people around me, what do you believe in? Why do you believe in it? And based on where I am, there's going to be more people of one religion than another. So if I'm, here in Kentucky, odds are people I ask, they're going to say Christianity, Catholicism, Baptism,
Mm-hmm.
Methodist. Um, and if they're all, which is all over, you know, overlapping Christianity as a whole, if they're all like saying this, like this is the right religion, like this is what I would recommend that you look into and believe in, they're gonna look down that and they're gonna say, well, this makes sense. Like it seems logical. Versus if I was wanting to believe in something and I was in Iran, or I was like I've said previously, like in India, and I was like, I'm looking to believe in something. I don't know what yet,
Mm-hmm.
but I want you to help me. And they're saying, well, like come to like our Buddhist temple. We're gonna show you, or Hindi. We're gonna show you like our Hindi religion. And the people I talk to, they're gonna say, well, the Hindi is the religion that we all believe in. You should come to our service, and we're gonna like, you know, preach to you, and you're gonna tell us how you feel, whatever it is. And I might feel something, whether it's music or things they said, and this makes sense to me. Like I really connect with this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think most people they take that approach. They ask people around them, what do you believe in? Why do you believe in it? And people that say find faith here, where around where I am, they all go to Christianity. I've never met one friend that says like, I'm Hindi now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd say, great for you, but like I'd
Yeah.
be very surprised. Like, how did that
Yeah.
happen?
Yeah.
And I was always gonna say, well, I have this friend, he's Hindi, and you know,
Yeah.
he took me to his church service, and that's how I came to that. Um, Same thing if all my friends were living in India and they say they came to faith and they said Christianity, I'd be like, Christianity in India, like how did that happen? I'm
Yeah.
surprised you weren't, Buddhist or Hindi or
Yeah.
whatever it is. Um, uh, so I think that's one of the problems is like people don't take the approach of testing out like as many religions as they can. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
anybody that I've ever met that's like, okay, I'm gonna try Christianity, let's say for a week, whatever it is, a week, and then next week I'm gonna do Hindi, and I'm gonna do Buddhism, and then
Mm-hmm.
test out all these religions, and whichever one makes the most sense to me, whatever I connect most with, I'm gonna do like equal research on both ends.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm gonna start leading more into that one. Whichever one I have the least amount of questions with, I'm gonna lead into that faith.
Yeah.
And I don't, I've never met anyone that's taken that approach, and I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that I'm sure there's many people that have, but there's nobody that I know that has ever taken that approach, which to me is the most logical.
Yeah. Like I said, skepticism is our best tool when there's four
Mm-hmm.
thousand religions in the world. Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of people, when I tell them, act like it's a choice that I just chose, that I wanted to like leave. And in my head, like, I didn't choose it. Like if I look outside right now and it's it's sunny, if I wanted to believe it that it's raining outside right now, no matter how hard I tried to choose that belief, like I just
Mm-hmm.
deep down I just don't believe it. Um, that's kind of where I fall on that. But
Yeah. I think it's like completely logical. You can't, because I am much more of a skeptic about religion than I've ever been. And the only difference between when I was much more of a deep believer to now is I've just started asking more questions.
mm-hmm.
Had I been in the same place 10 years ago, whatever it is, and I was asking the same questions, I would be ahead to where I am now.
Yeah,
So I don't think there's like any experience that changed my belief or like whatever it is, because um, I'm somewhere between like believing and agnostic.
mm-hmm.
Just because I've had so many questions recently and not getting as many answers back as I have questions.
Yeah,
So it's difficult because
yeah,
you have like what you want to be. I want myself to be like this is like it, like God's
yeah,
the religion, like I want to be fully like
mm,
in this, but it's like I have
yeah,
all these questions like that just don't make sense, or I'm not getting answers right now. So it's more of like I'm waiting to
yeah,
see like how these answers develop, how many more questions I have, because I'm not gonna have a few questions and then like I got some answers and like I think I'm still convinced. Like I'm
yeah,
just gonna keep asking more questions until I get to like okay, like I'm pretty set on not asking more questions and like I think this is where I'm settling on. But it might be a year, it might be 10 years, it might be my
yeah,
whole life until I'm done asking questions and getting
yeah,
an answer that I'm comfortable with hearing.
mm. Yeah. Like you said something like I want something to be true. Like when I look back, I didn't want to leave. It
Mm-hmm.
caused so much heartache and pain and separation. Like I didn't want to leave. Um, but that's just the way my journey took me, and that's something I'll say is like, yeah, just don't feel guilty with asking questions and following what you believe and what your heart, is guiding you to. Like, don't be
Mm-hmm.
ashamed of that at all, because from my experience, you'll end up being more whole and fulfilled and authentic. Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we just gotta make our own journeys, trust our direction, trust our heart, and
mhm.
see where it takes us. And you never know where you're gonna end up the
Right. Yep.
next day, the next year. You never know until it's happening.
Yeah. One final point I wanted to just touch on
Mm-hmm.
is we've talked a lot about the harms of religion and fundamentalism and and all that stuff, and um, I think when I first deconstructed and left the faith, it was so easy for me to like look down on Christians, like how you believe this nonsense, and
Mm-hmm.
now I've realized like I've got the core value of being a truth seeker, and I can't change that. I can't
So you
change
are.
that. The same way that a Christian can't change the way they're built. So I have no reason to feel better or worse than any religious person. And eventually I'm kind of getting there, but I think eventually like healthy deconstruction kind of looks like I don't have faith now, but man, the people who do look really happy and I get that and I kind of want that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not there yet, but I think that's kind of the goal. And eventually you kind of go from being that angry atheist to seeing all the benefits and the beautiful things about religion, like the religious art and traditions and ceremony, like all the beautiful stuff. Like you kind of get to a point where you, as Alex O'Connor says, we've thrown the baby out with the holy water. And so you start to realize, like, wait, maybe there's a lot of beautiful things here, and I think that's kind of where I'm getting at now. But that
Yeah.
doesn't require me to believe the unbelievable, which is kind of fun. So now I'm just at a point where like, I'm trying to get as much benefits from religion as possible, and I don't feel guilty at all with like not believing the unbelievable. You know,
Mm-hmm. Like
it's fun.
agnostically atheist. Yeah. Well, I think this is a good place to wrap it up. I really appreciate you coming on the show. Definitely some good conversations. So, if you guys made it this far, awesome. If you guys have any more topics for me to talk about in the future, make sure you comment down below and stay tuned for the next one.